Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the first day of class is off to a rocky start for public school students as the virtual learning platform crashes. We've got the story. The Nurses Union threatening to take industrial action, plus a new partnership to see 10,000 devices in the hands of students.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, from incompatible devices to passwords that didn't work. The first day of online lessons hit a huge snag for public school students this morning when the Ministry of Education's online platform crashed just as students and teachers were signing on. While some were prepared and found another way, this problem was the source of frustration for many parents.
None of the students could have gotten on this morning. None of the teachers were able to get on to teach the lessons.
It was a problem faced by thousands of students and parents who tried to log on to the Ministry of Education's online platform for learning Tuesday morning. The inability to do anything. Education officials held orientation last week to familiarize students and teachers with the platform. Teachers were sent a link with videos to direct them how to use it. But when it was time for the rubber to meet the road Tuesday morning, the site crashed. And parents were furious, like this mother whose child attends North Eleuthera High School.
And to add insult to injury, there was no update by the Ministry of Education stating the problems that they were having with the virtual platforms.
By noon, a message was up on the portal link indicating that maintenance was underway. But at that point, parents had already taken to the comment section of a post on the Ministry of Education's Facebook page. One parent wrote, "Sucking my teeth. Y'all ain't making no sense. Y'all know this wasn't gonna be ready. Suck my teeth. Y'all fail us again." Another chimed in, "Did anyone else's child get on? Because mine still get an error." And yet another upset parent wrote, "Pure slapping up going on early this morning. Suck my teeth."
Middle, bottom. All right, so here we go.
Edison Brown has two children in grades 1 and 4 at Eva Hilton Primary and a daughter in 7th grade at H.O. Nash Junior High. While the government's online platform was down, teachers at Eva Hilton quickly moved to Zoom to avoid a disruption in lessons.
We got the passwords, we got the Zoom ideas, and there was no hiccups today. Everything was smooth running.
We understand as issues with the online platform became evident, school administrators advised teachers to go back to their temporary methods of teaching, which included Zoom and Google Classroom. Well, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says she has been inundated with calls all day regarding the platform from teachers as well as parents.
And they are unable to log on to the virtual school. Some of the teachers who would have uploaded work onto the system weeks ago, though that work has been deleted. Students' passwords are not working. Teachers are not aware of the passwords for the students.
Wilson says despite those technical issues, many teachers have not even received an attendance list to find out who is in their class. Then there are other issues she said she thought should have been common sense.
Tablets that were given, loaned to students and to teachers are incompatible with Zoom, and we are still uncertain as to the content of the curriculum, as to what has actually been placed on the platform.
All of our attempts to reach officials at the Ministry of Education were unsuccessful. When asked about it outside cabinet this morning, Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd declined to comment. While the Ministry of Education said it is pleased with the progress made since the start of the new school year, adding it did experience some technical challenges which prohibited many students from gaining access to the learning management system. Officials say most school administrators and teachers were able to implement alternative modes of online instructional delivery using their Plan B. In other news, the Bahamas Nurses Union says its members are fed up and are gearing up to take industrial action over a new shift system. It comes one day after up to 60 nurses on Grand Bahama called in sick, causing a huge shortage. Berthie McDermott reports.
The Bahamas Nurses Union is threatening industrial action after it was revealed that a group of nurses in Grand Bahama signed a contract that requires them to work 8-hour shifts instead of the 4-on, 4-off. Williams said more than 50 nurses on Grand Bahama called in sick on Monday, noting that nurses are overwhelmed and overworked. According to the BNU president, the union has had enough and will do whatever is necessary to address this issue.
We will take industrial action. We'll take any means that we need to take to rectify this problem, and we want our government to know that. Because at the end of the day, we're fighting a pandemic, and that decision was a dumb decision made by anybody.
The Nurses Union president added that a shift system was implemented for a group of nurses at Sandilands Rehabilitation Center. However, she reasons that the new shift is a breach of the industrial agreement.
The industrial agreement states if you want to make a change in industrial agreement before the industrial agreement is up, both parties must come to the table and come to an agreement.
The Public Hospitals Authority attempted to implement a shift system for nurses back in 2018. Under that system, nurses would have been required to work between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. and would have been paid $1.75 per hour in addition to their base pay. As a result, the BNU voted to take industrial action. Williams lashed out at the new shift system, charging that it isn't effective.
And you tell me at the end of the day, you're willing to sacrifice that for shift change that does not work. Around the world, they don't consider that type of shift change because it's too stressful for the nurses. It could cause error. Come on, man. These people don't have a plan.
Speaking to the matter outside this week's cabinet meeting, Health Minister Renwood Wells said health officials are trying to do their best to deliver the best health care to Bahamians.
We have sought to be able to seek to get the maximum amount of work without trying to overwork our medical personnel. There is issues in that the Nurses Union president claims that it's a breach of the industrial agreement. We are looking at it.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Finance Minister Peter Turnquest slamming what he called misleading and mischievous comments regarding a $600 million bond. Turnquest said while the government would have preferred a better rate, Hurricane Dorian, the significant blow to the country's top revenue earner, and the rating downgrade all had an impact. Here's Giorgio Bain.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest defending that $600 million foreign currency bond secured by the government last week. According to Turnquest, those speaking ill of the bond are only intended on creating mischief. Turnquest said while they would have liked a better rate, they understand the challenges facing the country.
We have suffered a significant blow to our number one revenue earner. That obviously is going to have some impact. In addition to that, we've just come out of Hurricane Dorian, which is also going to have some impact. Add to that the fact that we've had a rating downgrade that also has an impact. So all in all, we are obviously, we would like to see a better rate. But we live in the real world, and we know that we have some challenges.
An announcement by the Ministry of Finance said the government has now secured most of its budgeted $1.3 billion debt through a $600 million foreign currency bond through more than 140 investors has been met with criticism in some quarters. Critics raised questions about some of the investors and why funds were not locally sourced.
The holders of our debt is not necessarily the institutions that act as the book runner or the market maker for these issuances. The bonds are actually held by institutional investors throughout the United States and Europe in various chunks.
The government received $200 million from the Inter-American Development Bank, a $40 million facility with the Caribbean Development Bank, and has accessed $248 million as a part of a $300 million bridge financing deal approved by Parliament for fiscal year 2020-2021. Turnquest said he believes the government is making the right decision despite the naysayers.
It is very incorrect and misleading to say that a financial institution is in fact holding our debt or somehow whatever actions they may have been involved in or whatever would have had anything to do with what with our paper or the credit that we've been able to receive. I think it's mischievous.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Bahamasair is struggling to meet salary payments, according to Tourism and Aviation Minister Dionisia de Aguilar. Airline officials have been quite candid about the national flag carrier's financial struggles amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they have no revenue. So they're having to rely almost exclusively on the government to subsidize its weekly payments. So, you can see it's not flying, or it has very little business, and there's just no way that can support the fixed costs of that airline, which are very, very substantial.
Bahamasair currently has 595 employees. When asked if there would be any layoffs at the airline given its struggles, Diagler said this.
The government hasn't contemplated that, so the status quo remains.
Well, an Abaco woman who was airlifted to Colombia after an horrific accident last month has died after suffering further health complications. Here's Jared Higgs.
32-year-old Brittany Edgecombe died on Sunday morning, weeks after being involved in an horrific accident in Abaco. According to her sister Telia John Baptiste, she died after suffering from 2 heart attacks.
We weren't shocked because we didn't see it coming. We thought she was going to come home, not the way that she is, but we thought she was going to come home alive, and so we had already made preparations for that.
Edgecombe was heading to her job at Marsh Harbor Airport on September 9th when her vehicle ran off the road. Emotional footage of Edgecombe prior to being airlifted to Colombia shows family praying and Edgecombe crying. Sadly, her hospital stay in Colombia would be a difficult one. The mother of one tested positive for COVID-19 and battled pneumonia for 2 weeks. Despite returning a negative COVID-19 test, Edgecombe passed away.
She was being treated for pneumonia in her lungs. I don't know how it was, but I can imagine that it was lonely. Coming from a household where everyone's always around each other, and her son always being there.
A GoFundMe page raised more than $200,000 for Edgecombe's care, and the family are grateful for the support, but they're crushed by the outcome. John Baptiste, who lives in Georgia, says the family is focused on taking care of Edgecombe's 10-year-old son.
I don't think I've ever thought that I would ever lose a sibling so young. I always thought that we would all grow old and be with our adult kids and even our grandkids. I'm going to miss her. She was always giving, and especially Christmas. We were already planning Christmas because it's our favorite holiday.
Her death is a stark example of the human cost of the pandemic, where healthcare facilities are overwhelmed and patients are isolated from loved ones. John Baptiste doesn't think her sister knew about her COVID diagnosis and is heartbroken thinking about the time her sister would have spent in hospital.
I've seen people grieve, and I've seen people talk about how hard it is to have loved ones in the hospital during a pandemic. But the reality didn't hit me until that happened, until it showed up in my doorstep. And it's hard. It's hard imagining what she went through.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
More news on the way, but here's a first look at weather with meteorologist Greg Thompson. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather, brought to you tonight by CG Atlantic, where people come first. Current conditions outside our studios, we have just partly cloudy skies, temperatures around 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Your winds are out of the northeast at around 6 knots, feels like temperature around 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Satellite-wise, we have a frontal boundary that just stalled to the south of the capital across the Eleuthera and the Cat Island area. Some showers associated with that. That frontal boundary will continue to fade out tonight as we expect another front. That is your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, the health minister quotes the Bible in his defense of weekend lockdowns. Plus, Cable Bahamas partners with education and Rotarians to push digital inclusion. Stay tuned.
Happy Foods, Happy Foods, 242, 242, Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Food, 242, food galore just for you. This ain't no talking show, it's an eating show. Sasha Laurel is the host of Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Foods, 242.
Tourism Minister Dionysi Diagler expressing concern over the U.S. State Department's Level 4 travel warning, which has not changed. It advises Americans not to travel to the Bahamas. Here's Jasmine Brown.
The tourism minister was candid in his comments as he admitted the U.S. travel advisory is not a good look for the Bahamas, and neither is the rapid rise in COVID-19 cases. When asked if he was concerned about the advisory still being in place just days before the October 15th phased reopening of the sector, Diagler said this.
Oh, absolutely.
In early August, the U.S. State Department issued a do not travel advisory to the Bahamas, citing concerns over health and safety measures and COVID-related conditions. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has issued a Level 3 travel health notice for the Bahamas due to COVID-19. Just over 2 months later, that travel warning remains in place. At the time the advisory was issued in August, there were just over 700 cases of COVID-19. Over the weekend, health officials reported that cases surged over 5,000.
There's no doubt whether you're looking at tourism or whether you're just a resident in the Bahamas, resident in New Providence, you're concerned about the number of cases here. So it behooves us as best as possible to try and get those numbers down. And that's why I implore, and maybe some people haven't made the connection between getting these numbers down in our economy. And that's why I implore everybody to do what they possibly can. Not to contribute to community spread, to follow the guidelines, because it's critical for the survival of our tourism economy that we get these numbers down.
Last week, Bahama President Graham Davis said the resort cannot reopen until COVID-19 numbers in the Bahamas are lowered and urged Bahamians to do their part in making that happen. D'Aguilar agreed.
I know it's difficult, but our economy is depending on you, every citizen, to be able to rebound.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Health Minister Remrod Wells is defending the government's decision to impose further restrictions on New Providence and Abaco, including an extended curfew and weekend lockdowns. He said while health officials petitioned for a full lockdown, the government's initial response was to allow Bahamians to work during daytime hours. He quoted Bible scripture to drive his point home.
We should work while it's yet day, for the night comes when no man works. So we're seeking to simply have the Bahamian people engaging in the kinds of activities that they ought to be engaging in the day, and we're seeking to reduce that at night and to reduce the social interactions on the weekend with a hope of us being able to continue to contain this virus.
The Bahamas has confirmed 5,163 COVID-19 cases and 108 COVID deaths. 85 new cases were confirmed last night. There were 104 hospitalized cases. Wells said the government is looking to increase the bed capacity at Princess Margaret Hospital.
We will be able to set up probably about 28 beds at PMH, probably no later than maybe tomorrow or Thursday, with international help that's going to help us with the surge in cases that we're seeing.
Cable Bahamas has partnered with the Ministry of Education and Rotary Club to launch a multi-level digital inclusion campaign designed to bridge the digital divide and promote digital literacy. The partnership will provide some 10,000 devices as well as customized data packages for students on the lunch voucher program across the country. Cable Bahamas CEO Franklin Butler said they are working to ensure the most vulnerable students have access to education.
The work that we do is really focused on making sure that all those underprivileged have an opportunity to have access to education. We've done that by making sure that over 10,000 devices in partnership with the Ministry of Education are going to get in the hands of those who are less fortunate, and specifically those who are on the lunch program as a part of the Social Services Department. Davriel, that for us is really about how do we have impact? How do we bridge the gap between those who have and those who don't have?
Rotary Club Assistant Governor Carla Card-Stubbs invited citizens to partner in the initiative, while Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd stressed the importance of virtual learning in the COVID era.
Virtual learning is the only credible, legitimate, and valued means by which students can continue their acceleration in the educational domain. And so I cannot overemphasize how critical a gesture and a value this is to us.
Still to come, how a local school is honoring a recent murder victim. Stay tuned.
Happy Foods, Happy Foods, 242, 242, Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Food, 242, food galore just for you. This ain't no talking show, it's an eating show. Sasha Laurel is the host of Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Foods, 242.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Noble Preparatory Academy has offered a scholarship to honor a former employee who was gunned down just over a month ago. Jared Hicks has the story.
I think it'd be something better for me instead of just sitting around doing nothing.
14-year-old Demetrius Noel is a talented track and field prospect. He has a unique opportunity now that he's about to attend Noble Preparatory Academy.
I think it'll be a good choice.
Noel is the first recipient of the school's Danton Woods Memorial Scholarship. Woods, a former coach at the school, was gunned down outside his Hawthorne Road home just over a month ago. The school's president, Gino Bullard, says Woods was a childhood friend and the scholarship will honor his legacy and hopefully motivate his family.
We also are aware of his passion with helping, youth in his profession as well. He mentored plenty of people in the landscaping and being able to help them when they didn't have jobs to come off the streets and try to be productive in their communities.
Bullard says Noel is an ideal candidate for the scholarship. He says the teenager has great athletic potential, but needs to improve academically and socially.
So we just want to be able to enhance those areas that we know we have tremendous deficits in. So that's the whole purpose of it, and we're going to try and look into our communities every year and see if we can find those type of students that really need that type of mentoring.
Woods left behind 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. He worked in landscaping, so it's only fitting that the Memorial Scholarship will allow its recipient to attend Niagara College's landscaping program. Woods' daughter, Dante Woods, had encouraging words for the lucky teen.
Do well, be the best person you could be, stay out of problems, and have fun.
As for the young man, he says he wants to make his family proud.
I used to get a lot of problems, so I trying to show them I could do better.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come, what's happening in sports, and later, the Royal Fidelity Market Watch. Stay tuned.
This is a huge deal. NFL Sunday Ticket is back, only with Rev Trio. All day football, all day Sunday. Enjoy all the benefits of Trio with a huge extra. Never miss a game with NFL Sunday Ticket, included in your Rev Trio bundle. All you have to do is opt in. TV, phone, and internet starting at just $99. Call 601-8992 to sign up now. Visit www.rev.bs/promotions for details.
In sports, week 5 of this year's NFL season set to wrap up tonight. Marcellus Hall reports.
Well, here's what we do know. It was a wet day today. Here's what you may not know. Last night, Monday Night Football action and Major League Baseball playoffs continued. We'll also give you a preview of what's ahead with Tuesday Night Football. Monday Night Football last night saw the New Orleans Saints overcoming a 20-3 deficit. They outlast the LA Chargers 30-27 in overtime. Drew Brees, 325 yards passing and a touchdown. He also rushed for a touchdown. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, rookie quarterback Justin Herbert, he continued his great play. Finished with 264 yards and 4 touchdowns in a tough loss. Saints improved to 3-2. Chargers fall to 1-4. The NFL will wrap up Week 5 with a rare Tuesday Night Football game this evening as the 4-0 Buffalo Bills, they take on the 3-0 Tennessee Titans. Titans, by the way, have not played since Week 3 due to a number of positive COVID-19 tests. Major League Baseball playoffs continued yesterday with Game 2 of the American League Championship Series between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros. Rays getting the win 4-2 to take a 2-0 lead in that best of 7 over in the National League Championship Series. Game 1 there, underdog Atlanta Braves, they stunned the LA Dodgers 5-1. Braves now up 1-0 in that series with Game 2 set for today.
Over him to the shortstop Swanson. Braves take Game 1.
And of course, we'll give you details on everything that goes down as far as your Major League Baseball playoff action today and Tuesday Night Football coming your way on our TV tomorrow. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marcellus Hall.
And that's a look at news. We throw it back to meteorologist Greg Thompson for the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Kyle. In our second look at weather on our satellite, take a look around the area. Frontal boundary to the south of the capital eventually will fall apart, extending out there in the open Atlantic. We do have a tropical wave out in the open Atlantic as well. That's moving across the eastern Caribbean islands. Should get into the western Caribbean by later on in the week. Your boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas. Winds will be out of the northeast to east. A 10 to 15 knot seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeastern islands, east to southeasterly flow, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Sunday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everyone.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by Royal Fidelity, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the Golden Abaco Play app. Have a good Tuesday evening, Bahamas.